They look gorgeous, but...
Welcome everybody to today's top producer interview. We're going to try something new and we're going to videotape it or record it so that we could see what it looks like as a video recording. So thank you for being the first one for doing that.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome.
I am Edith Espinola, and this is the Top Producer Interview Series. And the reason that the purpose for the interview is for you to realize that these people who are top producers are not any better than you. They've just found their genius. They found their greatness, and they know what it is that makes them successful. They know how to apply it, and therefore they are. Elena Johal is currently in the top 7 of our office, and she's consistently in the top 10. And I know that she ranks even higher, like within Santa Clara County and things like that. I apologize, I just don't have those numbers today.
I'm so offended.
So please join me in welcoming Elena Johal. All right, can everybody see even with the camera here? Okay, good. Elena, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so honored that you accepted the invitation. So what I like to do is find out a little bit about what you did before you got into real estate. Like, did you go to school? Did you study something? What jobs did you do?
How much time do we have?
We've got 50 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, no, go
Just one
on.
question.
Yeah.
I studied to be a mechanical engineer. So when I first started working, I was a mechanical engineer. It was not something I was dreaming about. Growing up, I'm going to take you a little bit beyond your question. I did a lot of theater. I did a lot of competitive things, like, growing up in Russia, I did competitive sniper shooting. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, so ballroom dancing, so don't mess with me.
I saw you dancing at one of the parties. Do you guys remember her dancing
who
like
hasn't
the
seen
salsa?
me dancing? Come on.
That was really, you're a great dancer.
It was something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I kind of grew up being in an environment where you're competitive, but I had a lot of fun. I did dancing competitively for 12 years, since I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And traveled a lot, and it's just a part of me developing a desire to perform, which is super helpful right now, and compete. And I kind of learned, because everything I've done was not a sport team, it was individual kind of sport. So this is something which translated in my life, in my career, and everything I've done. I wanted to be in the theater. My mom said, like, no, you're gonna get mechanical engineering degree. And so I did, and when I immigrated here in late 80s, I started to work for a company called Applied Materials. Started to speak English in the 80s. That was helpful. And then I started, a year later, I got into technical sales and started to sell to Applied Materials. My boss gave me a group of 6, and we started to sell to Applied Materials and to Lam Research, to 2 competitors in semiconductor. So that's what I've done for a while, and then I felt encouraged. And I thought, okay, let me do something more interesting. So I got a real estate license, and I went to work for a company which still exists today, and I refer business to them, and it's a business brokerage company. They sell companies, they do business mergers and acquisitions. So I had a year of training working under a retired stockbroker. Try to remember his name. And that was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. But I think basically what I've learned is there's a lot of things you don't know, and a lot of things to learn, and I probably would never master it, but I started selling it, and second year I bought my first house and my first car. So that was not bad. The difference between what we do today and what I used to do was, in real estate, you can successfully do multiple transactions at the same time. In business brokerage, because it's a much higher dollar sign sales, and it's much more complicated. It would include a lot of people, including attorneys, homeowners, business owners, excuse me, and you can only do maybe 3, and if you fail, you really fail that year. So, you know, being married, having kids, I decided that I needed to switch the gears, and that's how I started in
That's wonderful.
residential.
So you grew up in Russia, and then you came here in the 80s, and you started to speak English then?
I started to speak English at 27.
Wow. And then you just, I mean, okay, that's awesome.
Isn't it encouraging?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Hey, that's my life. So I can see then that by your competitiveness that, you know, that you like to do as good as you possibly can, right? Like you're always competing against yourself. And then I kind of like the idea that you were a competitive in sniper shooting, right? Because it's like you really focus on the bullseye. And that's what doing real estate's all about, right? It's like really focusing on what it is that you want to accomplish. So I love that. So then when you decided to come into real estate, what company did you start with?
So I worked full-time and I decided to obtain license. And by the way, I failed twice, so you know. I couldn't get my license, so I had to study a little bit more. That's what us ESL people do sometimes. So I went to work for a company. It's a small company. It used to be a small company in Almaden on Redmond and Almaden Expressway. The broker I worked for, the first broker, used to work for Keller Williams. I met him a few times. And that's where I started my training.
Did you have a mentor? Were there programs?
No, nothing the way it's done at the scale we do here at Keller Williams. There's a lot of opportunities here. When I started, it's a swim or sink kind of thing. And it was a very small office. The reason I went there was because they were teaching classes late at night, so I could come after work. And that's how I started. So
That's great.
I started there. My first year, I did 12 listings.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and I tell you why I had to do what I had to do, because the year I decided to go from engineering to real estate was the year my husband and I bought a house. And I kind of felt, and that year, the company where I worked, I asked for time off, and they told me I couldn't take time off. And being me, I decided, nah, I don't need it. So I started to study for a license, and we bought a house. So when I told my husband that I just quit and I'm going to do real estate, I think he just about flipped.
Right.
Yeah, but and that is why I had a lot of financial pressure to perform, and I'm sure some of you work well under pressure. I don't know, I love working under pressure. That's kind of my gig.
Wow. As long as I could cry whenever I needed to, then I can work under pressure.
Yeah, but I find that more exhilarating, and I do well under pressure. So
great.
that was my first year. Then I did Alain Pinel, and from Alain Pinel, I came to work at Keller
Came
Williams.
to work here. And so, you know, Alain Pinel is a good company. So what was it about Keller Williams that, you know, made you want to join us?
Can you stand up, please?
Oh, Anna Maria?
Please stand up.
Aww, yay! She brought you here.
She brought me here. She kept calling, and I don't remember. Where did we work? I briefly worked for 2 months for Century 21. Were you there?
No, you were at Alain Pinel.
I was at Alain Pinel. Yeah. So the first company I worked for got purchased by Century 21, and I stuck around for 2 months, and I
Went to Alain Pinel.
and I left to Alain Pinel. But yeah, so Anna Maria kept calling me and kept talking to me. I kept saying the same thing, like, nope, I'm happy. And then something else happened. I don't remember exactly the chain of events, but then we met, and I came to work here.
Do you remember what it was specifically about Keller Williams that made you join? Because I know you weren't here at this office, you were here at the other office.
I think one of the things which was appealing to me is ability to grow team.
Mm-hmm.
And I came here to do just that.
Awesome.
And I think built a team here once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just, for me personally, I still have a lot of things to learn. And I kind of went back to being single producer.
Mm-hmm. I think there's something so powerful about acknowledging that we don't know everything, right? Because once we acknowledge that we don't know everything, then we can learn anything. That, you know, the whole world is just available to us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. So as you've been building your business, so I don't know exactly how successful you were at APR, but I know that, you know, you've consistently been in the top 10% here at KW. So what is your most successful pillar in your business?
I get a lot of referral business.
Mm-hmm.
And
This is from your database.
so let me back up. My database when I started was 30 people. When you start and you're told, oh, let's write down your sphere of influence, everybody you know, I literally freaked out because it was 30 people. That included my family, by the way. So there was no place to go with that. So the 12 listings which I did, and when you talk about pillars, and I tell you about referral business, this is a business, when people would say, I get my business from referrals, I'm thinking, oh brother, it will never happen to me. Because what do I have, 30 people? And not everybody there likes me on that list. So, well, we're down to 2 people. But that was, I think you said something which was interesting. You said that you're competing with yourself, because this is such an important point. I think a lot of times when you work in the office and you see so many successful, well-dressed, driving wonderful vehicles, people around you, et cetera, flashy jewelry, nice this and nice that. Sometimes you kind of feel squished a little bit. You feel like, oh my God, I'm not sure if I can be this. I don't know if I ever drive that. So there's a lot of kind of self-doubt and competitiveness. I've noticed that with me, I'd never found myself competing with somebody else. I've never got to the point where I compete with you, or with you. If you ask people who I work with, outside of Keller Williams, do deals with, we're not best buddies, but they would never find me competing with them at the level, at argumentative level, or I market myself in areas where other people market as well. I've never said anything bad about anybody else, and I never felt that they taken my business, even if we go on appointment and talk to the same client,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
I always felt that this client is for you and this client is for me.
Right.
I always feel there's enough business for everybody. You just need to know who you are, and you will know who you can work with. And that's all as far as competing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can kind of add to it a little bit, I think knowing who you are, it's kind of like knowing what are you selling, because you're selling you. I don't know how many of you can spend maybe days and hours sitting with me and explain to me how a lot of our tools work, because I honestly probably don't know. Okay? I don't. And I have to tell you that you need to find what is it you're selling. You also need to know your audience. You also need to know when you walk into appointment, you need to be able to scale your project. As soon as you walk in, you need to give yourself some time before you start selling them something they don't need. Mm-hmm. Don't be fooled by, I'm so great, I walk in, they love me. No, they don't. You need to find out, you need to find out you're there for a purpose, you're there to provide service. You need to know what they need from you. And you need to scale it down. Go ahead.
I love that you're talking about the importance of knowing who you are, right? Because the more you know who you are, the more you can understand other people. Because we're basically all the same, right? If we know who we are and we know how we react in situations, we can pretty much guess how someone else is going to. So I love that you say that. You know, most people, when they find out who they are, it's usually in times of difficulty or pain or fear, but it's a deep, deep emotion. Did you go through something like that to find out who you are? Or was it just, you know, uplifting yourself from one country and coming into the next?
Well, first of all, I would never do it again. I would never go through what I've gone through when I was young. It takes so much energy. I don't know how people do it, but yeah.
Well,
there.
you did it.
Yeah, so that's that. So there's, I think for all of us, we need to be able, we all have different experiences. And you know you have those experiences. They're at different levels because we're different ages, different backgrounds. But you kind of need to know and dig in much deeper than you can think of. Kind of taking you through your life, finding out what are the things you've done well and what are the things you failed at. And analyze it a little bit. And because you're here today, whatever you failed at, you obviously persevered and you're still here, right? So you had your experience to persevere. You have to take that experience and build on that and build your business. This is not a very complicated business. This is people business. It's a people business. And I think it's not what you know, but how you deliver it. How do you deliver it? And in order how to deliver it, there is a part which reciprocates and receives it. You need to know who they are, and you need to kind of get their personality, because I think last time I was doing class and we talked about 4 different personalities, right? So you would know, you need to grasp who, are they expressive, are they driver, are they amiable? You need to kind of figure it out and know how to deliver them what's important to them. But before you do that, you need to find out why are you where you are and why you're talking to them. Kind of know your audience and that level.
So are you talking about the disc profile, those, the driver, the influencer, the one who needs security, and the one,
Amiable.
the compliance? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's great. So if we understood the disc profile, then we could pick out who is who.
Yeah, definitely, because if you just give me a minute on that, I went to a listing appointment 7:30 last night in an area where I typically don't sell, condos in Milpitas. So for me, people I never met before, it was a phone call. Somebody referred me. There you go. Somebody referred me. I didn't know who it was. It was somebody I don't know who met me at the open house. All right. So when you ask me about pillars, I'm big on open houses. I go there not to trick people into signing. I think you did open house with me. I used to kind of try to get everybody's name, but I'm there to connect with somebody. If I can find someone I want to work with, and they seem to be wanting to work with me, bingo. If I didn't find somebody that day, I don't care for anybody else, but this is just me. Remember, our businesses are different, right? So I always try to connect with somebody, and this is what happens. You connect with somebody. I don't necessarily chase people most of the time, and God, please, thank you. Most of the time, people come back to me because I always try to be a problem solver. This is what, in the back of my mind, everything I do, I love problem solving. You tell me what's going on in your life, and I will try to be there. I'll try to solve and give you advice. And I come in with that kind of package. I solve whatever needs the client have. There's a lot of times I come in and tell them you shouldn't be selling. And I respect myself for saying that, because I'm not there for a paycheck. I'm truly there for them.
I love it. It's like you're kind of using your electrical engineering brain to, solve the problem, right? So you talk about wanting to know, like making sure that you know who the potential client is. Do you know who they are once you get in, or what research do you do prior to the appointment?
I'll take yesterday's case. I had no idea who they are. I spoke with them. I knew their background. I did research, so I do two things. I try to find out more about them, because these people I never met before. The only research I could do was my second research. Who's my competition? No. So I looked up who is the competition, because since I don't sell in that neighborhood, what are my points? My point is to find out how much of the market anybody else has in that neighborhood. Who am I playing against? I want to know who the other player is. Well, there's someone who has 2 properties on the market right now, and she seemed to be doing really well. So I dug a little deeper. Where is she? She's in Cupertino. So my mental note was, okay, so if something comes up from the client which says like, yeah, but you don't know this area, she's in Cupertino. It doesn't take much to know the area. Your neighbor actually knows the area much more than I do, but they can't sell your house, could they? Right? So I'm kind of getting myself prepared for any potential discussion. But when I walked in, I asked them who referred me. We talked about open house. The wife was busy with the child. So and she says, go ahead and talk. And I said, no, I'll wait for you. So I started to ask them more questions about typical, same thing you guys do. Where do you work and what do you do? And why do you think your friend recommended you to call me? And who else are you talking to? And he asked me, how would I compare myself to Redfin? Please. But those are real questions. And a lot of times I go work on listing appointments, I'm asked that Redfin question a lot. And people ask that question, I explain to them because they don't understand the business, and I appreciate that because they don't work in this business on a day-to-day basis, right. So they don't understand. So my job really to explain to them the services and extent of the knowledge you have as an agent comparing to a company where agent you're competing with has a comfort of having a base salary, and they're not in the need to close the deal or try to demand the higher price because as far as they're concerned, they're getting paid anyway, one way or another. Mm-hmm. Whatever else they get as an extra is just extra, right? You are there really to deliver and you're putting your time on the line. There's other things, if you ever have interest to talk further, we can talk about it, but those are kind of things which I get ready, I get that ammunition to know market share of any other agent. I get to know who they are, where their offices are, what's the price point they're selling at, as much as I can. And if it's a team and I'm individual producer, I always know that if you work on a team, you need to know who's doing what. With me, I'm it. I take care of everything. I do employ other people who help me with different tasks. Mm-hmm. But I'm it. If I was on a team, it would be a different story. I would probably say that being on a team is you share your tasks so you can get more done. You just need to know what you're selling. You can sell everything and anything. But as long as you're truthful and as long as you truly believe and as long as you have energy when you deliver, and the energy comes when you know you're there to good, a lot of good to the people you're meeting with. I try to speak from a position of older sister, not a younger sister. You know the difference in delivery in that case?
Mm-hmm. Confidence, guidance, that you really care.
Care, and from kind of loving perspective. That's why I would tell them that this is how we should be doing it. This is a delivery which will not fail you if you feel from position of kind, loving authority. if you have that, if you can build up to that confidence. And going back to what you asked me about finally, so your experiences, you have to find those experiences of people you've dealt with being that bigger sister or older brother or better friend. Because they're waiting for you for guidance, right? So you need to find that experience where you were giving guidance to someone and use it and build up on it.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you come in, your energy is that of the older sister, so that you're going to help them accomplish their goals. That's beautiful. So your pillar then, would you say that your biggest pillar of business is your database, or is it open houses?
I built up database. So if I have someone I employ who sends weekly emails for me. My motto on weekly emails and the database today from those 30 people, about 14 to 1,500 people. Okay, those are past clients, people who I like, people who connected with me, contacted me. They all go into that email. So my email is always creative. And my email always talks, I never talk about apple pie, or winter is coming, or hey, go clean your windows, or hey, did you see your gutter above the left side of the garage? Nothing like that. So my emails are always about what did I do this week? So you have to do something. You know, you have to give a story. So this is your performance of the week. Just go figure out what you're doing. If you're sitting in the office all day long, it's just nothing much you'll be delivering in that email. So if you're just starting out, start with, I'm on a team with Nikki, and we are, and I'm doing this, and this, and that, and this is so exciting. And while you're promoting Nikki, you are, her energy and her level of being in real estate and identifying with her in your email. You can start from there until you get your own.
I always say that real estate is about relationships until it's about real estate. And so it sounds like your drip campaign is all about building the relationship so that when they receive the email, they feel more and more like they know you. And because they know you, then they trust you. And then that helps with the referrals, doesn't it?
It's exactly true, and that's probably the biggest place where I get referrals from is my email. I do other forms of advertising. I employ people who, like for example, my escrow coordinator, she works for me for 3 years. We have never met. She lives in San Jose. She works from home. And people are like, what? You never met her? Why? Because I said it works. So I don't want to jinx it. It's okay, she's good, I'm good. So, and she's very busy, I'm very busy, we joke around, but
Yeah.
that's one. There's another one who I met, my husband and I went to, so my point is, you'll find people and let me back up. The reason you need to find people is because once you find out you're good at one thing, why do you need to find out you're good at one thing? Because real estate is a business where you have a lot of tasks. Look at Redfin. Somebody gets $25 to open the door. Somebody gets $10 to put the sign up. You're doing all those tasks, You're doing a lot of different tasks which are not necessarily producing business for you, but you have to do them. Then you feel very tired, very busy, but nothing happened. No wonder. So you need to find what is it you need to do in order for you to go and have an appointment with the buyer or coffee with the neighbor who is, you're driving by, their garage is open, they're fixing something, and you stop by and said, hey, need tools? And they said like, nah, I got a contractor, I'm gonna be selling in 6 months. Take them for coffee, right? So you need to be able to have your eyes open to talk about you and how you can help them. You don't have time to put sign up, you don't have time to close the door. You need to find your core competency if you want to make money, right? Once you found it, identify the rest of the tasks and hire people. It doesn't have to be one. So, and that's my point. I have somebody who does social media. Hate to say that, I don't know if I can, but I don't know my passwords. And something happened yesterday. She's like, "Hey, your KW password is that. Can you look into your email?" Like, "Oh, okay." So there it goes. I give content, but I don't know anything else because I'm paying you to do it. Leave me out of it. You're good at this. I never would be as good as she is on social media. Okay, I've learned it. You might be amazing. Me, totally suck at it. So I do what I'm good at. And I found it, so I concentrate on that. And that is that one thing you need to find for you. What produces business for you? It's your face-to-face interaction. How do you get there? You just need to talk to a lot of people, be in the places they congregate, which is open house, right? So that's, does it answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't remember what the question was, but it was really good what you said. Really good what you said. So, you know, we talked a little bit about failure, right? And it's like life is full of successes and it's full of failures. And that, you know, there's really a lot of gold in the failure, right? Because that gives you the opportunity to stop and figure out what you could do better next time. So for me, I look at failure as an event, right? Because if we look at it to where it really just is, failure is like, I'm a failure, then that's going to affect me in my business. But if I look at failure as an event, then it's an opportunity to learn what I can do better. So do you remember any particular time that you failed and what you learned from it and how you made it better?
So first of all, I take it personally. Every time I do something, I take it personally. I get in a car, I cry, I get upset that I didn't do it right. How could I possibly say that? What was I thinking? Etc. The normal routine.
Right.
I wish I was like you to like, oh, that's, you know.
No. No, just ask Jessica.
Don't be like me.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
But you know what I mean. I do. I fall apart. And
Well, but do
it's
you
like,
stay there?
no, I don't stay there because I don't know why I don't stay there. But because I have a lot of other things going on, and I'm kind of very responsible person, and I like to be needed. I need to be liked. So I'll get myself involved in a lot of different things where I can get my pat on the back. If you're not that kind of person, I don't know what to tell you. I was talking to my daughter, and my daughter is applying for med schools, and we had this conversation, and I said to her, like, good for you. I don't want to be a doctor. Okay.
Right.
So there's somebody who said, like, good for you, do real estate? Woohoo! I don't want to do that. So it's all good. You just need to, if this is what makes you happy, you should be here. If this is something where you're performing a surgery and you just hate that, don't bother. So, so my point is, I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I get up and wipe off my tears and move on. But there's a second reason. There's a second reason. Because I honestly feel that if you are not going to meet challenges which make you cry, and those challenges typically people. Those challenges typical. So if you don't meet people who make you cry, you will never ever learn to appreciate normal people. They're there for a reason, and they are a blessing, because once you meet people who just tear you down, you're like, oh, okay, that's nice. I cried my tears out that evening, but the thing is, oh my God, I don't want to be with anybody or associate with anybody like that. And then you move on, but when you meet other people, you learn to appreciate and you work harder for them. And that is a good reason, for me, it's a good reason to appreciate life, appreciate other people, but without anything difficult you have to overcome, you will never know appreciation factor.
Right, right, that sounds great. So like you have a, you are in a relationship with a client, it doesn't work, something's not connecting, right? So then you go and you cry, but you, right?
Step one, go
Step
cry.
one, go cry. Yeah. Step two, take a shot. Right?
Not while driving.
Not while driving. And then it sounds like what you do then is you look at the situation and you figure out why you don't want to work with those people, and that you kind of like stay away from that type of a thing and focus on what you do like. And then that's where your appreciation comes from, right? Where it's like, this one bad apple, I'm learning I don't like this, this, and this, but then look at this whole barrel here, and all of these people have this trait. So it sounds like you're like, you keep focusing towards that.
I keep focusing towards that, and I actually learned I had some experiences where I put my heart out to a client, to a couple, and they came through just being very ungrateful and appreciative. And so some things you pick up and you learn. It's nothing personal, it's business, okay? It really is. For them, I started to understand a few years into the business that they taking care of their business. I'm not their high priority. But their finances, their family is much higher priority than me. I'm there to serve. That's A. B, I fired clients, and I've done that, and I get my husband like, what? You just did what? $25,000 to whom? What? Why? And remember I said you need to know what you're selling. You're selling you. You need to protect you. Once in a while you meet a client and you sit at the table with them, and the husband will turn around and say, didn't I tell you to do this way?
Oh.
And then you get kicked under the table to find out that it's a wife trying to kick the husband, but you got in the way. Okay, so those are clients. So she's probably telling you, stop it.
Right, exactly, right?
So,
Or not in front of company.
so my point is, when somebody you feel is disrespectful, you don't have to work for them. This is your opportunity to make a decision, to upsell you to you and say like, nope, this is not for sale. I'm not working for you. Go find yourself somebody else to work with. I'd be happy to refer you. We're not going to be able to work together. And that's it. And I've done that in the past. And that, I think, gave me more business. Even though I lost that particular transaction, I sold their house in Almaden. They wanted me to work with them to buy a house in the country club in Gilroy. And in that kind of conversation, I feel like I've had enough. This is good enough. So you need to be able to, when we talk about knowing what you're selling, it's you. It's not just enough to know what you're selling to people. It's not just enough to have energy in delivering, right? But you also need to be able to protect what you have. And one of the things is, from time to time, let somebody go, let business go. But that elevates you for you, because you are important.
I had a transaction where I was co-listing with an agent from a different brokerage handling a divorcing couple. And it was horrible, and that was definitely crying and drinking. And after that transaction, I made a vow to myself, I'm only gonna work with people who wanna work with me, and I wanna work with them. Right? Like I really took to heart. We hear about like at the listing presentation or the buyer consultation that we're interviewing them too. And I really took it to heart. And so now there's so much freedom, because while I'm working with people, I have such great joy, right? And while you're enjoying it and having fun, then that's when more people come to you because they're drawn to you, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
I think, can I ask you guys a question? Who is in a business for under a year? Can you raise your hand? Okay, under 2 years? Okay, all right. So I think one of the things I was telling Edith, what I want to accomplish here today is I just want to make sure that you understand that you can do exceptionally well. You just have to do enough of whatever you're trying to do to figure out what works for you, because otherwise you will be going to a lot of classes, learning a lot of tools, but if you don't know what is it about and you can use this one tool and use it, it's going to be kind of a long process. So if I can help today just to help you understand that you are very important, the way you position yourself with the client is important, and it really doesn't matter if you have no transactions at all or you had hundreds of them. Every time you go to appointment, you do kind of the same point of sale. You walk in, you greet people, you're kind of a little nervous, but as long as you tell them the truth is, you're my first client, or I don't sell in this neighborhood, but I know how to sell, and I have a huge company which will help me to market, and I will work my hardest for you, because working for you is important. You are very important to me. You have to get it through. You have to tell them you are very important to me. You have to say that. To me, that's important. I make sure I tell people that, because you're dealing with a lot of money. Why should they trust you with their money? The only reason why is that building that trust bridge, then you can walk on it and you can deliver your tools. But until you build it, it's not because you know a lot they give you business. They get to know you, and the faster you get to them, to get to know you and let them know you're important to me. I want to make sure I answer all your questions. Or I can say, oh, you're very important to me. I want to make sure I answer all your questions. Say it like you mean it. Say it like brother or a sister or a father or whatever authority figure you are comfortable with, but get there. Put yourself in. Once you get out of the appointment, do you, whatever. Okay, but there, they need someone who they can trust, and it's your opening act. You have to be that person who is confident, you know more than they are. That's why you're there. Even if you never had transaction, you've learned way more, right? They don't know your lines. They don't know if you follow the script. They trust you because you know more than they are. So you have advantage at that appointment, right?
That's great. It reminds me of a saying, people don't care what you say until they know you care.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's beautiful. You are giving out just wonderful words of wisdom. I'm so thankful for that. You're just
thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
So, does anybody have any questions? Nikki?
Yeah, I know we touched upon it briefly when you're just starting. Obviously, your database is 30 people. Can you go into more detail about if you're working open houses to get business, what is it that you are saying, regardless if it was then or now, to get clients to want to work with you? Like,
a lot of times, so when I started, remember I said I sold 12 houses first year on that database, I did a lot of door knocking. I got to know a lot of people, and I told them exactly the truth because it's the easiest thing to say. And I told them, I'm starting out, I'm your neighbor. If you're starting out, you know where you are. If you don't, look at the intersections and figure it out. So, and it's the easiest thing to say. I live here. I love where I live. How long you been here? Here's my card. I'm looking for business. Can you help me out? Goodbye. Next. So just something very normal. It doesn't have to be like somebody who walks into the office and just normal, warm, like you would talk to your friend. So this is where my 12 houses came from, door knocking in my neighborhood. And then it kind of spread out. Even now, people come to my open houses and they ask me, is this your house? Think about it. Why would somebody ask you, is this your house? Because if you're passionate about the home, I walked in the houses with my husband in Carmel where you walk in and the guy never gets up. Like, seriously? Like, I can buy you in that house and the house next door. And you're really paying no attention? So, but you need to be able to be interested in people and loving the house which you're selling. You really need to know it intimately well. You have to get acquainted with that like it's your own and upsell it. I love homes. So I tell them like, oh, look at this wood, look how it's carved. Like, I mean, so you have to be that interested. If they're a neighbor, they'll come back to you like, oh my God, she loved my neighbor home. When she will be selling mine, she will do the same. So that is, my open houses are like that.
So it sounds like you're being completely authentically you, and you're being honest, and you're focusing on the fact that you'd like to help them if they need your help, and that you are looking for business.
I'd like to be you, because I like how she worded everything. It all makes sense now. Whatever she said, that made sense to me. Yes.
So I just want to know how you would, what you would do in this kind of situation. So I've had filled my pipeline with listings in Los Gatos. I live in Los Gatos almost 15 years, and this is where I farm my neighborhood and everything. I've come up against a lot of people that have realtors that are their friends of 30 years. So I've come in second a lot, not only for listings, but also for, basically they said, wow, if I didn't have this person as my agent to buy a home, I just did a house here on Monterey Avenue, and I would have picked you. So I'm coming up against a lot, and it's a little like smushing, like it smushes you. Like, what stance would you take, and what direction would you go, and would you keep, I guess I'm finding I'm going head to head against everybody, and I don't want to, I really love what you said about the competition, like, you know, you really don't, I guess you gotta find your way, maybe, find your own path. I'm trying to
Remember
figure
you
out
just
what-
told me that your client, one of the clients told you, if it wasn't for my friend, I would have picked you. Why? What is it about you they liked?
I have a very high likability factor, that's what I
Is that what they told you?
I've been told that plenty of times. And wherever I am, I'm just like you. I adore the house. I'm excited about being at that house when I'm doing the open house. I do everything. I study, I research days before. I know my neighborhood no matter where it is.
Okay,
And I love the house that I'm at. So
Okay.
I project that.
okay.
But I'm trying to figure out, like, do you have a strategy? Would you just basically move to another neighborhood? Or would you continue to farm where you're at?
Okay.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I probably wouldn't unless somebody owns 30% on his or her own of the market share.
Mhm.
Typically, no. Typically, it's not true. So now, I asked you the question, and you answered the question, but I'm not sure if you actually asked the question of the people who you came second with before and actually listened to what they said about you. You need to know exactly why, because a lot of times, you know, they're being nice.
Yeah.
So you need to know why they would. I ask that question,
You ask.
because I compete a lot. And I ask that question. I come back and ask that question. What was it? You know, nowadays, I have 7 listings right now. Am I worrying about it? No, I'm worrying about being able to swim out, right? So, but comes November, December, I ask that question because maybe there's 2 listings. So you need to know that answer. And if you found something which they like about you, bingo. This is your money ticket. This is what you start to build on. You have to, if you will find out and you want to call me back, we can build around it. But here's another thing. Here's another thing. You have friends, right? If you want to keep your friendships, and it has to do with money, a lot of times you rather go and borrow money or whatever it is from somebody you don't really know, because you know money changes relationships. So a lot of times I tell people, like, I know it's your friend and it kind of makes sense, but if you want to keep your friendship long term, you really need to let your friend off the hook and let your friend go and be your friend. It's a totally different job. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here because you and I will be talking frankly. You will not be able to tell your friend you don't like how she does your open house. Otherwise, you ruin the friendship. You understand it, right? She's not going to retire on the commission she's going to make from your house. And whatever deal she said she's gonna give you, I'll give you a better deal. Would you take it to keep your friendship?
That's a good one. Good job.
But you need to know, right? And you, yeah, anyway.
That sounds great, Elena. Thank you so much. So we are here almost at the end. You've given us so many pearls of wisdom already, but what would you like to leave everybody who's sitting here and the ones who are going to be watching on video? What would you like to share with them as your final words on this interview?
Whatever I'm gonna say, if you can reward it, you will do a better job. But I think what I want to leave you guys with is everybody who is here is already successful. You are successful people. You really truly need to believe that you are successful. Some of you are just before to open that door of success and get comfortable with yourself and just go for it. Some of you are just maybe somewhere midway and the door is open, you're still standing there and trying to figure out what's going on. Take one step at a time. Make you a better you. Get comfortable with yourself. Find out what is it about you people buy. What is it they like about you? And build on that and know you, because you are a wonderful, successful product. Know the company you work for, how it can help you to get more business. But spend a lot of time prospecting, talking to people, and learn to be excited about you. It's a job. You don't have to do 24-hour day. Do it at appointments and do it a few hours a day. Get excited about you. Practice it a lot. And you will continue with your success to bigger and better.
That's awesome. Thank you. So thank you so much for being here. Again, I'm Edith Espinola, and this is the Top Producer Interview Series. Next month, we have Sylvia C. joining us. And again, please join me in thanking Elena Johal.
Thank you.